Hello everybody and welcome back to another On the Workbench session. This is number 31. It's only going to be a little bit more brief. We got one thing we want to base. This is from Footsore Miniatures. They've got a new Kickstarter going, and as this thing is painted, there'll be some links to the actual Kickstarter there. But for now, we just want to base this. And you can see where our contact points are down here. Now, they've got theirs based on a round base, but I want to do an oval here. This is actually, I'll show you where this came from. This is from the Reaper basing set. What this is going to do, it fits in there real nice for one thing. But as I raise this up, it's going to give me room to do some stuff down here. And I'm thinking I want to do some flaming skulls, something like that, to do maybe a little object source lighting up here on our Hydra heads. Now we've got a couple of things, and this is really one of the main features here. So this, another one of those texture rollers. And see, we got some really nifty iconography here in the mosaic. And I will show you the roller right there. Got the roller guides on there. And we've got this clear roll. This is what I use to do this. And I'm going to bring up another little blog post here that shows you. So we got our texture rollers there. Recognize the clear roller. You see we're rolling out their Scopy on a ceramic tile, as we always do. I'll link I think I've got one on baking the Scopy. We'll link that one here. You can see the roller guides there. Those the green rubber things right there. See, once you get your Scopy flattened out, a nice big old piece of Scopy. And as always, that is gray extra firm. And I believe I've got the box right there. See that? It's gray extra firm. It's not white or soupy scopy or pink or any of those other cute colors. It's extra firm gray. There's a very specific reason, because when we get to this part here, when we start to roll things out, like so, look at that. It's going to keep that texture in there, and it's not going to stick to your roller. That's kind of a real important thing, because you get rollers junk stuck in here. That's not going to be terribly helpful for you. So I'm going to go to another post that has some more of these here. Again, extra firm, gray Scopy. Look at those Scopy sheets there. Really nice. This is the next thing I want to show you. See these little pieces right here? You can tell that they are designed to go with the texture rollers. This is the Egypt set. I just used this on the Aztec, the Blood Bowl team, my Lizardman team. You can even recognize a couple of those pieces. There, I used them for the team. So there's about a dozen pieces-ish or so in the box. That's these guys right here. And you can see that's going to go. Look at how that matches up just now. I'm sure they must have used some Sculpey there and made that piece and then put these pillars on it. Now let's grab, there's a container of them, so you can see, we've got we got the face there, statuary. This, I think, is from the Roman set. Yeah, Roman ruins. There's actually a Roman texture roller, but it works well enough with the Greek stuff, especially when we've got this thing here. So we're going to try and incorporate that on our base. Flaming skulls, right? Flaming skulls right here. And I've used those on a bunch of recent videos. I think I even used them on Hellboy figures, used them on some Reaper bones. We're going to use those. We will probably use some of these GW skulls right here. And then this, I think, is from the Reaper weapons set. So we'll see if we can maybe have a broken weapon or two maybe on the base. Not sure if we're going to use some other parts of the texture sheets. Remember, we use those. Here, let's actually go to the green stuff world. So you can see and they just added a new one right here. This is the Tank Tracks one. Just added that. Oh, look, there's a sale going on. We've done one with the Mandela. See, there's the Roman one over there off to the right. I guess they're all on sale. I'm going to be doing stuff with the Elder. We already did a whole series with the Necronic roller. There's a Tau. Once I can get some Tau figures, we're going to do that too. So just, there's so many projects that I could spend 20 minutes just bopping around that site showing you different things. Now this came from this. I'm going to turn it over this way. And you can see there's a whole ton of different bases, and they're really big ones, round, ovals, fantastic. But even down to the smaller, more 30 millimeter rounds like this one over here. This is one I thought about using here. So this is basically on a scale of that one, but it's round. So made in the USA. How about that? We're going to use a few simple tools here. Obviously, we've got our wood carving tools and probably an X-Acto knife. I may use chunks of, now this is the white Sculpey that we like to use, because you can see it can be broken, but I think we've got a whole nother couple tutorials we're going to do with that. We're going to need some of these sanding sticks. But what I'm after here is this guy. Here's our strategic foam, not foam, it's cork, bulletin board cork. And what we like about it is we can even do stuff like this, where we make smaller rocks out of it. Just handy for so many things. And the idea is we want to raise this up off of the ground a little bit. Gives us more room for fun stuff. Especially things like, I don't know, it's both of these are really nifty, because this would obviously follow the texture of the roller. This one still has some of it on there, see that? So I think we're going to go with this one, because it really adds to that Greek theme. And the idea is that flaming skulls are here, they could maybe reflect on the, if we make this sort of a bronze shield or whatever, that could be fun to, I realize there's a crack in there. They probably meant it maybe to be a stone statue shield, but we'll see if we can't make that maybe metal and make it more reflective. We've got some just basic glue here, right? Nothing special. We will almost surely use one of these guys here. So I might use this. Might use the earth texture one. We might even use both. Who knows? Now we've got some super glue with us here too. I'm just want to make sure I show you all the stuff. We got tweezers for picking up those pesky little skulls and such things. Now I do have, in case I need it, I got my rocks and gravel too. And as always, our beat up craft brushes, which clearly we have used for this task before. I can see by all the black there, that's probably from the earth texture. That's for some, no, it's not his earth texture. Don't know why it's black, but it is. So what we'll do is we'll get our stuff out here ready to go, and we're going to build a base. The base itself will not take a tremendously long time to make. It's just kind of a shorter thing. I just wanted you guys to see how I go about something like this and try to create a scene around it, so then you can see it painted later on. Fortunately, this has a shorter, smaller, narrower footprint, so to speak, without feet. Gives me more opportunities to do stuff. And if it's raised up a little bit too, then you get to see the undersides of the faces. So it's all a little bit of strategery there. What we'll do is we'll set up our stuff, and we'll get to that next. So let's get into our cork and Sculpey here. Now I'll have to adjust the focus a few times just by its nature here. But let's have Mr. Hydra out there, and then we've got to break this. I'm just gonna get rid of the, I was tempted to get rid of the factory edges, but we've done bases like this where we have stuff like almost like a step there instead of just all broken. I just want to see, how does that look? These are the kind of things you've got to decide on. Now if I do something like this, it does, that is interesting. Now there's actually one of these chunks here that really matches that well. Now the thing is, does that, because you have to also have some reason, well, why is there a second level if we're going to have this down here? Now, of course, you've got broken up stuff right here, so maybe it does make sense. I'm kind of tempted to keep that. The skulls like so, although I do like, maybe I want to have a, let's see, just what we might get here. Because this has so many lines on it. That's one reason why I'm thinking about it, but then I still have to get that there. So I think we are going to go the other way. Well, the original way. So sorry for that little pause right there. Okay, that's just how it broke. Now if we go this way, there's room for this over here. Maybe some skull piles here. Gotta make sure that that stays away from our edge a bit. I'm gonna take a little bit. Look at that piece of wood right there. And I am. So what I'd rather have it do is build maybe something like this, because I want to have it go up this. I don't want it to have necessarily that kind of overhang. I'd even thought about doubling up on my layers here to make them even taller. I'm going to grab some more of this. We're going to do a little bit of breaking here. I will take off that piece, and so we've got a little bit of a stair step there. Does he still fit? He still does fit on there. And let's have this work its way up a little bit more. The thing is, we're just not going to have a whole lot of this texture. Maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. I kind of have to say I sort of like the multi-layers there. Yeah, that's not the worst thing in the world. And it still does support him. So we're going to go with that. Crazy as that might sound. So what we're going to do is we will use some of our Elmer's glue here. Now I prefer wood glue. I think I actually got some in here. Let's see if I can get some out of that. The fast drying wood glue, I just keep forgetting to get some. What we're going to do is try and keep that in its place, and then we will use, hopefully, now I have no idea if this is, here, I'm just going to take the tip off of this here and see if we can get this to flow without having to, nope. Now if I have a couple of things I can use is one of those pins, right, that I use to uncork some of my paint jars. I think maybe that'll do it. No, that is dried pretty solid, which is why I've got my backup glue here. That's for immediate hold. And now for the longer term hold, especially since stuff like this cork just absorbs glue, it just kind of eats it for lunch. And let's make sure we can get this where we wanted it to be. I think about there. Now let's get this onto the base here. Just some of my glue. I'll even throw a little bit of the Elmer's glue in here. Well, actually, this is more like wood glue. What's left of it here. There. Doesn't take very much. Move that around. Actually going to even slide that a little further back than I originally had it, maybe. I want to double check to make sure I've got enough space for that. And now who knows, maybe there is... Nah, that might be a little too crowded. Now I could rip this off of here. Do I even... you know what? Maybe I kind of like that. So what I'm maybe going to do... I'm going to look at how this is oriented here. So this actually has to, I'm just going to break some of that away, create some extra space. As much as I want that pointed towards the potential skull thing, I have to see that this needs to be oriented basically this way here. Gotta keep that in mind. Gotta keep that in mind. Yeah, it would be interesting to have two of those there. Might create more of it. Why is there just one broken column there? But it does mean I've got to start chipping away at this to make more room for that. There's just not enough room for that. So I'm going to go back to my original set here and see if I can maybe find another piece. Now that was interesting to see what that does. So it actually kind of almost raises it to the level of that. I seriously considered this piece too. Now we want the face pointed out there. There's some, here's a smaller, this is a smaller one. This might do it right there. I think that's the closest one. Let's see if we can't. That one still won't work there, so that's not too horrible there. So there's, I could always just snip that off right there in case I can't remove any more of this, because obviously there's glue right there. Yep, we'll just snip off a little bit of the outside of this. That's some pretty tough stuff there. So just don't mind me while I do that. And we're going to do, yeah, okay. All right. Let's do some glue. Some glue. Let that really get stuck in there. And the first thing I'm going to do is grab a piece for the top section here and something. Yeah, I see how there's a crack has formed there, so we're just going to go with what we've got here. And let's just start to break this. It's okay to have a little overhang as long as it's supported. Let's make sure that that is okay right about there. And then we got another section of this to break down a little more. Now we're going to use our, and again, if you don't like to do this, we've got this, which you can see, it's completely safe. We're never going to cut ourselves. I think I want to keep that little straight bit there. Let's say I can just kind of chip away at some of it. I'm not trying to cut a whole swath of it away. Just trying to almost, see, look at that motion of the, so no need to worry about which direction the tool's pointed or anything like that. It's all just gonna chop up your jeweler's block, and that is how I'm going to refer to them. I know other people have said they're called other things, but I really don't care because this is what I call them. It's what I was taught when I first found out about them, and I'm sticking with that. Now I think we're going to go with something like that. Oh, look, now I've got all of these nifty pieces over here that I can use, like right there, which is nice. I'm going to break this. Again, just going to use the clippers here and make that a little less even. And a couple of dots of glue here. And I'm going to go with a little bit of the Elmer's too, because the Sculpey is actually absorbent enough to snag a little bit of this type of glue too. In you go. We know we've got a nice little piece here. That can go in there. Got this little piece right here. Just gonna look around. Here's another nice open bit that can go back over here. And that just can fit in there. I'm gonna snip. Oh, I just keep going with this end here. Make that fit. Like so. Just make sure that there. Nope, I'm going to cut away a little bit more just to make sure that actually stays down. What else have we got here that we can... Second even. And I don't want to go quite like that. That would be maybe a little weird for a mosaic floor, but we're going to perhaps even think about that there. That's not got a whole lot of texture in it, so I want something that has a little bit of aha. Like this piece here. Let's see if we can't... I'm going to make this a little bit of a in cut here to accommodate that. Now we need a bit of an in cut there. So I think we've almost got that starting to fit in there. Let's cut off, we can cut a little more away of this. I realize there's a lot of back and forth here of the cutting. I'm just going to use my knife this away, carve that down. Now that fits in there, and then we're going to just snip along the outer portion of this edge here. And we're getting there. We're getting there. Just a little more over here. And that fits. Sorry for smashing into the camera. And in goes our piece of mosaic floor. And then we can take these smaller chunks here. We got a nice little chunk right here, I think, that works reasonably well. Oh yeah, look at that little bit of flower texture there. So we're gonna hopefully get that to fit in there reasonably well, and then we're just going to, I'm gonna see if I can't save some of that to use over there. And let's cut away here a bit, get a piece to fit down in there like we do. I think you can see we're starting to get something built up here. Now I see some of that right, and that actually wouldn't be a horrible thing. See if I can't preserve as much of that piece as possible. I'm going to get rid of some of this. That's what I like about this cork. It's pretty easy to make some adjustments in that midstream. Another little chunk right there. Look at that. I'm just going to keep looking around to see what kind of pieces and parts we got to play around with here. What about, that might be better used up here. Don't mind me talking to myself here. Now I did take the liberties of cutting out some of the skulls, and here's the other thing I thought of too, is maybe using a little bit of texture sheet in some places. So let's give that maybe a shot here. Got sort of a skeleton here. I'm gonna see if I can't. Just looking to break this puppy in half. That one's a little bit on the thicker side, and I also don't want to snap these clippers here. So that one's really on the thicker side. Let's see if we can find a part of this that's maybe not quite so thick. So that could even go in there, which means I've got to remove some more of this. I can cut some more of this away, I think. Now let's dig out let's dig out a little more of this. And I think we're just about there. I'm trying to use as many different textures too in this. It gives you a little better idea of all the fun stuff that's possible. All right, that just about fits in there. I need to trim away a little more here. And now I think we are there. Okay, let's glue that in. I'm gonna have to hold that for a couple seconds to make it stay there. Might even let a little bit of a little bit of my regular glue get in there too. So see how that kind of fits in there. Having something like that, actually, to me, it adds a little bit, instead of just piles of skulls everywhere, kind of isolated. That's going to just be too big, so we won't do that. But I am just going to try and use this here. So let's clip away that edge. See if we can't get this piece to sit right around there. Break off that one little nub. A little bit of glue. And the more of this stuff you have, the more pieces you've got to work with. You can, if you really want to turn this into a jigsaw puzzle, you can. That's not really what I'm looking to do here. Because that really is supposed to be about the figure. So see, I actually took two different pieces entirely, sort of made them look like they go together a little bit. Now here, I'm just going to actually have some of my oxide paste, and I always kind of refer to it that. It's kind of a generic term, basically. Now let's get Mr. Yeah, glad I got overhang there, and I'm glad I went with the 3 levels. Glad I went with 3 levels, so like you do there. And, I do... There's a bit of a rounded edge here, so I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to snip away a bit of that. What we'll do is we'll let this have a couple minutes to dry here. Then we're going to add the earth texture. We'll add some of the... See if we can't get... I got these spears here, so maybe we can get some kind of broken weaponry and add our skulls too. So we'll be right back. I've got my earth texture out here, and what I am going to do is start to fill in some of our gaps here. Nothing real fancy. That's what we like about this stuff. This is from Vallejo here. It has just enough of body, and if you do this with glue and sand, I found out the hard way, it just collapses. It will just collapse, and then you'll just not be a happy camper. But now, what this lets us do, it's just kind of, we can sort of attach these couple of pieces. Maybe I don't lose the crack that's there. Maybe we'll keep that. There's broken columns, all kinds of destruction here anyways, so there. Fill that in. And once this is primed, you won't see the difference in those pieces. You won't have that seam anymore. I'm going to grab this. This is important here too, because that's going to hide that nasty seam here. We'll have to do that all the way around these things. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the underside of this. It does a couple of things. It fills it in for one thing, makes it look a little less weird like an overhang, but it will definitely strengthen that. And we're going to strengthen it even a little bit more. So what we'll do is we'll take some of these shards here and we'll put them underneath like that. And that's just going to act as a little bit of a glue there and keep those in place, which is nice. Here, let's get a little more of our paste in there. See, we can even have it cascade all the way down here. And then can use some of our other pieces of cork, like there's sort of boulders coming down. There's another piece of, so now it starts to act like rocks, and then can start to use our rocks and sand and gravel here. Now this is the fine sand. You've seen me use this before. So we got 3 different textures there. Fills that all in real nice. Now I don't want to get too crazy with all the rocks and everything, because, well, what if I want some skulls, or I could put broken shields in there. There's all kinds of things I could put in there. filling these gaps. I could take even more little tiny shards of this and throw them in there. I could take bits of rock, but just seeing the stuff kind of caked up against the edge of that shield just naturally, the way the thing comes, I'm gonna throw a piece of rock there and maybe a couple of these. You can be more strategic or careful in the way you place them. But you notice I start with the bigger stuff first. There's less of it. And then there's more of the finer sand and gravel. Just throw a little in there. And then we just work our way. We work our way around this here. I try to preserve as much as I can. The texture that's on my Scopy, the texture that's on these little extra pieces like this. And boy, when this thing gets primed, you won't even realize that it's sort of a, oh, what would you say, a conglomeration of all these different materials. It looks kind of neat when you first like this and you get to see all the different materials and you think, wow, that's neat. But then when you actually see it primed, it looks that much more interesting. So again, we're going to go with our bigger rocks, slightly finer rocks, and then throw in the sand. Now let's get in here. Like I said before, we got to really fill in this area in between the two layers of cork. You're trying to hide that, because what's the one thing, I'm sure you've looked at it too, you see a cork base and it looks neat, but you say, well, okay, that's a nice stair step of cork, because that's pretty much what it's going to look like. It's going to look like one layer of cork sitting on top of another. It's not like that's a horrible thing, but it's so obvious. And here, it's not like we can hide the fact that it's cork necessarily, but it's just a little less obvious. Sort of like when you use model train toy trees or whatever, as opposed to trees that have maybe a little more realism to them. And again, a Hydra is, I don't know, I haven't seen too many of those lately, so it is all just fantasy, and it's your world. You make it how you want it to be. See how I can make that a little bit thicker now, have it sort of walk up to the edge of that instead of just being a little flat blob. Here, let's get a little more. Now I know that this is going to go in and out of focus a little bit as I move this closer to the camera, but I think you get the gist. I can't really manage the controls. My hands are somewhat full right now. There, look at that. Check that out. And I'm gonna, like I said, make myself a little bit of a couple of boulders here, make those larger maybe. Then we go with some of this, and then we go with, you can see some of our finer stuff, and then we go all the way down to our sand there. And now let's clean up this side here. I might have to put some more of this out. And then we've got more decisions to make. Do we put the weapons in there or not? Is it just too much? The important thing is to get those skulls in there, though. They have the bits of flame on them, because I want to do that object source lighting, and without flaming skulls, I don't really have torches or anything, so we need a reason for there to be all that fiery stuff going on. So you can see how we've managed to sort of integrate these two pieces a little bit more. A little bit more. I guess Kathy and I, we've seen a whole bunch of older Time Team episodes. Not sure how many people are familiar with that. It's a BBC show, and obviously it's a group of archaeologists, and they sort of run around England digging things up. And they're always, seems like every third episode they're trying to, they're thinking they found themselves another Roman villa or whatever. And a lot of times they're kind of disappointed that maybe they found a mine or something like that, or a school. I don't know. They've definitely found something that wasn't a villa, but they're always after mosaics. So I'm going to basically shove a little piece of cork down in there, fill that gap. Take another little piece of cork over there. I might even use a little bit of glue here just to make sure that stays in place. Like so. Let's grab a few more of these bigger pieces. And we'll repeat our little trick here with the gravel and such. I don't want to get too nuts in this area, especially because I want to continue out the, basically add the skulls and such out there. So that's why this is kind of minimal right here. I'm going to grab a little bit more of my, I almost called it oxide paste again. It's earth texture. That's what the label says anyways. So I'll just throw some more of that out there. And again, this, I got to hold this closer to the camera so it's not going to be in focus. I just don't want to change the entire focus for this one little bit here. As much as I like to do it all holding it flat, that's just not going to work. See how that paste just starts to fill in a lot of those gaps, and just makes it look less like cork and more almost like you sculpted some kind of plaster or whatever. Remember, we used that on the really gigantic dragon, and then we used it, I think, on some other bases too afterwards, on some maybe a little bit smaller vignettes and dioramas. So that's pretty well filled in there. Let's get this edge right here. We want to mask the fact that that is a piece of texture sheet. Bit more there. Got this nice little piece we can just sort of, well, that's not going to sit there very well. Where can that go? That's going to go there. See, that's another way to hide it, because instead of just a flat shelf, there's actually a little, well, not so little, but there's a piece of rock there. I'm just looking around for more, basically rock chunks like that. So see how much nicer that is than just, say, adding this gravel here and the other textures. It's one more. The more textures you can add, I don't want to say, I don't really want to use the term realism, but believability maybe is more the, maybe that's a more accurate phrase. One last little go around here of sand into that. I will throw a touch of sand there. What we'll do now, we will ponder some other items, like that's just going to be, that's kind of on the huge side. I'm going to cut out this spear, well, at least the end of this spear. So I just broke it basically, Yeah, that's a little nicer. What if we did something like this, where the spear sort of sits like that? What of that? That it kind of disappears. Kind of disappears. So I think. Oh, how about that? See, we got now we have angles. Yes, we have angles. We like angles. Let's make sure now. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of mold line work on this. I want to add these guys in before I do the skulls. I've learned that the hard way in the past. Once those skulls sort of go in there, it's hard to put this over the top of them. Basically, you'll put the skull in a place where you might want to put something like this. So here, let's just get a little of this on either end here. Try and make it look as if it's just resting there. Yeah, and it's also, look at, here's another thing. What are all these, all roads lead to Rome? Well, all these roads lead to Athens here. So look at how all this is pointing towards him. It's almost like maybe they tried to stick this into him and it was broken. I think that's it for weaponry, though. I don't think I'm going to add any more. I think we'll leave that be. First things first, though, is our fiery skulls. Now I'm going to see if I can't get this glue working here real quick. I'm going to get myself a little scrap piece here. Give me 1 second. There we go. Got that to work. Now we got to position these. I'm thinking over here. Got my tweezers. Here, let's position him there. This one right there. See what we have. See what we've got underway there. I don't think I can get any closer. Oh, I can get a few steps closer. Yay. Just working on my focus for you here. I think that's about the best we can do. Let's do a couple more. Here. Now I need to file this down to level that out. So give me a moment here. And these are just the sanding sticks. They work so well on resin. I even used them on our Hydra itself. Now maybe not every single one of these skulls should be on fire. So how about we put one right there strategically, so oh look, it might even light up that. But let's grab our, so these are the GW skulls. Now I've got secret weapon skulls. There's also regular skulls from Green Stuff World. They don't have to be on fire. But I am going to get that a bit closer for you to see right there. How's that? This is so much fun. It's gotta control gotta control the urge, just put them everywhere. Now I think I can get away with putting actually some more regular skulls around here. So let's do that. Makes no sense to put fiery flaming skulls in this part of it because, well, it's kind of blocked. So he just doesn't necessarily fit real well there. And I think what I will do is just actually do a little bit of gravel. Sometimes I do that. You got that extra super glue there. It can sometimes mess up your texture a little bit. So, and this actually now makes the skulls look like they're set into the ground a little more. I'm going to lift this up here. See that? Because otherwise what can happen is the skulls just, well, they look like somebody just threw a bunch of skulls on the ground. And there's kind of no reason to believe that they have been there for ages. All right, more glue over here. It's going to be another. Yeah, I might even just throw one of these over here. So again, I'm looking at my flaming skulls. I'll throw this one down here, or maybe not. Let's try that again. Of course, now it has glue all over it, so it's going to want to stick to me and make my fingers also stick together. One of the reasons I try to do this while my oxide paste or sandy paste or earth paste or whatever paste it is still soft is, well, I can actually push the skull down in there to make it fit a little better. No, I want that one back here. I'm going to steal that one. I'm going to shove it right over there, so it's going to go next to... It's going next to that one that's actually part of the texture sheet. This guy... Well, the idea is to get it there. They're not always going to want to go where you want them to. I can tell you that right now. That's good. Oh, as much as I'm loath to just keep throwing super glue into this, we're going to do that. Because by hook or by crook, I want a skull sitting right in there. Because there's a big old gap there, and I think it'll be more fun to have skulls in it. So now again, I'm going to take my glue, take advantage of that glue sitting there, and do this. And now it's going to look like those skulls are... Oops, sorry, it's off camera. Now it's going to look like those skulls are sitting there, or have been there for a while. I'm going to leave an open area here. I thought about putting one of the swords there. Maybe another broken spear, maybe not. Let's leave that be. Let's see if we can just... We got a couple of more of our regular skulls left. We can throw those over here, perhaps. Alright. Skull time. There. Let's add another one here. You can see I like to do these sort of in pairs and then with another one that's almost isolated, like over here. Something like that. Let's see if we can get another flaming skull over here. This is what I was looking for. I am going to have to file down the bottom of that. I'm going to forego the tweezers because those have been irritating me. That's how it goes sometimes. I'm going to chuck in some of my finer gravel bits and sand and such. Like you do. Now, I like that crack right there, so I'm going to leave that. However, I am going to try and fill in a part of that here with some glue. Then we've got a skull left here. You know what? I'm going to put one right in here. I'll let you just sit right there. And now we're going to go some rocks, finer bits. See how that skull just kind of sits right in there now? That didn't take that long. It's been less than an hour that we've worked on this. And already we got spears and skulls and flames and all other kinds of neat stuff. Now I will have to, I'm going to let this obviously dry here. And I will be doing actually a series of live sessions to paint this bad boy here, because there's no way it's getting done in 1 3-hour session, that's for sure. And hopefully it's fun for you to see this part of the process. Oh, what the heck. What the heck. I'm going to see if I can't add one more of these. Again, there's another one of the flaming skulls here. I am thinking of putting that right here. Like so. Let's surround it with some environment here. Yeah. Now this piece right here, I can see that just didn't work out. It didn't want to stay there. So I'm going to just ditch that. That's going to go away. And I'm going to actually, in its place, just go with my rocks and gravel. And again, some sand. This, it needs something. Should I put another broken spear? Sometimes you just gotta leave it be. Sometimes too much can be too much. Now let's not mess up what we've got. But he fits on there now. See, his chest fits right there, and we'll use our pins to get him pinned to it. And now you can see he looks like he's looking down at a figure, really threatening it. Instead of looking like just a large dog with a bunch of heads, now he's really kind of threatening down from above. It looks like people have tried to kill him, and he's busted some things up. There we go. Now, thanks again, everybody. I know this is a little bit shorter than, say, a typical Workbench episode. I realize that. But it's one of, I think I'm going to be doing more of these. Remember, we've got the waterfall base for the Dark Sword figures and that family of owl bears. So there'll be more things like that where we have a bunch of figures that we're all kind of just showing the base and then the painting later. Now I can see, I'm going to get me just a little bit more. That's it, some sand right there. But thanks again, everybody, for supporting this. I appreciate all the help on Patreon. It's what makes this possible. And like I said, get that stuff all over your hands too. And I can't wait to start painting our Hydra over there. And we'll be doing a little bit of object source loading, maybe not an extreme amount, because I want to do that too. Because I thought maybe I could even have some glow coming out of their faces. But we'll give that a shot, and we'll paint this up in a future session. Thanks again, everybody. I'll catch you on episode 32 of On the Workbench.